Have you ever held yourself back? Not because you weren't capable, but because you weren't confident. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, wow, they just own how they are and who they are? I wish I had that kind of confidence. Or maybe you know deep down that you're meant for more. But every time you try to step forward, that little voice whispers, who do you think you are? If you've ever felt that way, I want you to know you are not alone. And today we're going to try and change that. Hi, I'm Petrina. Welcome back to Pretty Deep. I am so glad you're here. Last time, we talked about rediscovering purpose, something that can feel so exciting, but also a little daunting. Because let's be real, knowing your purpose is one thing, but actually walking in it, that takes confidence. That takes courage. And it takes believing in yourself and seeing yourself the way God sees you. And you've got to silence that little voice that keeps saying, you're not enough. And that is exactly what we're diving into today. Confidence isn't just about what you wear, how you speak, how you carry yourself. Though let's be real, those things do reflect how we see ourselves. True confidence, it starts on the inside. It's about knowing who you are and showing up as that person. It's about believing in your worth, even before anyone else does. It is about learning to stand tall, not because you figured everything out, but because you know you are already enough. So, in today's episode, we're unpacking what confidence really is and what it isn't. Why so many of us struggle with it, even people who look confident on the outside. How to build confidence from the inside out so that it is unshakable. We'll talk about simple, practical ways to carry yourself with confidence because how you show up physically affects how you feel internally. Here's the truth: confidence is not something you're born with, it's something you build. And today, let's start building. So grab your coffee or tea, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Confidence is one of those things that we all want more of. But if you ask 10 different people what confidence actually is, you'll probably get 10 different answers. For some, it means being the loudest in the room. For others, it's about success, beauty, or having everything under control. But if confidence is only about having it all together, then what happens on the days we don't? What happens when you feel insecure, when you fail at something, or when you look in the mirror and don't like what you see? That's why it's so important to understand what it really is and what it isn't. A lot of people think confidence is about personality, like you're either born with it or you're not. But confidence isn't about being naturally outgoing or fearless. It's about being secure in who you are, even when you don't feel ready or enough. You know, those people who just carry themselves well? They're not necessarily the most beautiful, successful, or accomplished people, but something about them draws you in. That's because true confidence has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with security. I used to think confidence was something I had to earn, that once I accomplished enough, looked a certain way, or had everyone's approval, I would finally feel secure. But if your confidence is tied to external things, it's only a matter of time before it crumbles. Confidence is not fearlessness, it's faithfulness. Let me explain. So, the world tells us that confident people are fearless, but I don't think it's about never being afraid. Instead, it's about being faithful even when you're afraid. It's about stepping forward even when you feel unqualified, unprepared, or unsure. I can't tell you how many times I've had to do things afraid. One such time was when I had just graduated with my interior design diploma. Must have been about 20. India was in a recession and jobs were scarce, especially for a newly graduated designer with no real world experience. Now, I loved this magazine. It was India's first and premier interior design magazine. I'd read almost every copy of it that existed and dreamed that one day I would write for it. So, I decided to pick up the phone and call the editor. It was terrifying. My heart was racing, my voice was shaky, but I told her that I wanted to write for the magazine. Imagine my surprise when she didn't hang up. Instead, she said, "All right, come and see me." That one phone call opened the door to my first published piece and the start of my 20 plus year writing career. It taught me that sometimes you don't wait for opportunity to knock, you knock first. It also taught me something I've carried with me ever since. Confidence isn't about waiting till you're ready. It's about stepping out in faith even when you're terrified and trusting that God will meet you there. Because here's the thing, if I'd waited to feel qualified or ready, I would never have made that call. I would never have walked through the door that God was ready to open for me. When I started shifting my mindset and when I started reminding myself that I didn't have to be fearless, I just had to be faithful, everything changed. If confidence is something we all want, why does it feel so hard to hold on to? I think part of the reason is that so many of us are chasing a version of confidence that's not actually real. We're told that confidence comes from success, beauty, achievements, approval, that if we can hit the next milestone, look a certain way, or prove ourselves to the right people, then we'll feel confident. Then we'll feel secure. But here's the thing, if your confidence is built on something that can be taken away, then it's not real confidence. Let's talk about the biggest confidence killers: comparison, self doubt, and the weight of past failures. Comparison makes us feel like we're always falling short. We see someone else succeeding, and suddenly what we have doesn't feel like enough. But here's the truth, someone else's success doesn't take away from yours. Their path is theirs, yours is yours. Self doubt is that inner voice that says, "You're not good enough. Who do you think you are?" But here's the thing, self doubt is a liar. It magnifies your weaknesses and makes you forget your strengths. Past failures, they weigh us down. We've all failed, we've all made mistakes, and sometimes we let those moments define us. But failure is not final. It's not the end of your story. Confidence comes when we learn from our mistakes, get back up, and keep going. So many of us build our confidence on shaky ground. If your confidence is in your beauty, what happens when your appearance changes? If your confidence is in your career, what happens when you lose your job or you feel stuck in a dead end job? If your confidence is in people's approval, what happens when they criticize you or reject you? This kind of confidence is exhausting because you're constantly trying to maintain it. It's so fragile, it's conditional, and deep down, it keeps you stuck in fear because one wrong move, one failure, one shift, and it all comes crashing down. You've got to find the balance. You've got to care without depending. Now, does this mean we shouldn't want to be successful? Or that caring about how we present ourselves is wrong? Absolutely not. When I put on a great outfit, it makes me feel amazing. I feel powerful. When I've worked hard at something and I see success, I feel proud. These things matter, but they should not be the foundation of your confidence. Your success, it can be celebrated, but it should never define you. Your beauty, Let it be appreciated, but it doesn't determine your worth. Your achievements, they can be meaningful, but they are not your identity. It's not about rejecting these things. It's about not depending on them to make us feel valuable. Now, confidence is not static. It shifts and evolves as you go through the different seasons of life. In your 20s, confidence often comes from being independent, starting a career, making big life choices, figuring out who you are. In your 30s and 40s, confidence is tested in new ways through marriage, parenting, career changes, or even unexpected life shifts. This is when we start to realize that confidence isn't about always having the right answers. It's about trusting that we're capable of figuring things out. Later in life, confidence looks different again. And it becomes less about proving ourselves and more about walking fully in the wisdom that we've gained. It's about embracing who we are without apology. So, if you're feeling like you should have it all together by now, take heart. Confidence is a journey. It is not a destination. Confidence, it doesn't just impact how we see ourselves, it impacts our relationships too. In friendships, when you're confident in who you are, you're less likely to overthink every interaction or worry about whether people like you. You can just be present, be yourself, and trust that the right people will value you for who you are. In marriage or relationships, confidence means knowing your worth. Not needing constant validation from a partner, but also being secure enough to communicate openly, to set boundaries, to receive love without fear of not being enough. And in parenting, confidence is key. Because let's be real, none of us have all the answers. But I've learned that when I trust that God placed me as the parent of my children for a reason, I can lead them with confidence. Not because I'm perfect, but because I know I'm equipped for this role. So if confidence is not about proving ourselves, how do we actually build it? That's exactly what we're going to get into next. Practical, actionable steps to build true, lasting confidence. So first and foremost, stop waiting till you feel ready. Confidence is not a feeling, it's a byproduct of action. Let me say that again. Confidence isn't a feeling, it is a byproduct of action. Social media makes us think that confident people have always been that way, but that's not true. They just took action despite the fear. I'll give you an example. The first time I did public speaking, man, I was terrified. I wanted to be sick as the moment to walk onto stage got closer. My hands were shaking, my heart was racing, and honestly, I seriously considered running away. But I did it anyway. I even apologized for my shaky hands, which surprisingly got a warm and understanding giggle from my audience. And you know what? That moment, it led to opportunities I could never have imagined. It led to my business growing. The fear didn't disappear overnight, but every time I pushed through, the fear got smaller. So, confidence grows through action. Maybe the first time your fear is a 9 out of 10. The next time it'll be a 6. And before you know it, you're doing the thing that once terrified you. And you're doing it with confidence. And since confidence grows when we challenge our thoughts, here's a simple exercise to try. Think of one area where you feel unsure or not good enough. Instead of letting that doubt control your thoughts, replace it with truth. So, if you're thinking, I'm not smart enough for this new job, shift it to, I'm a fast learner and I bring valuable strengths to this role. Write it down, say it out loud, repeat it whenever self-doubt creeps in. A very wise counselor friend said this to me. She said, you need to change your inside talk. It may feel silly at first, but trust me, rewiring your thoughts is one of the most powerful confidence boosters there is. Next, I want you to pay attention to what makes you feel strong and beautiful. This is where things like personal style, creativity, and self-expression come in. Listen, I love fashion. I always have. And over the years, I've come to realize that how I dress isn't just about looking good, it's about how I feel in my own skin. I don't dress to impress others, I dress to express myself. On gloomy days, I wear bright colors to lift my mood. If I need a boost, I go for structured silhouettes and deep, rich colors that make me feel powerful. And I never underestimate the power of accessories. They take an outfit to the next level. I know my style is bold and expressive, and sometimes that's too much for people, but I love it, and that's all that matters. The same goes for the spaces we live in. Our homes are extensions of who we are. Love to entertain? Create warm, welcoming spaces where people like to gather. Love to travel? Pepper your space with pieces that bring back beautiful memories. Need peace? Create an environment that feels calm, uncluttered, and energizing. Style and decor might seem superficial to some, but they are powerful tools to help us step into our best selves. Another thing I want you to do, I want you to speak kindly to yourself. Confidence starts in the mind. If your inner dialogue is full of self-criticism, how can you stand tall? Ask yourself, would you speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself? If your best friend made a mistake, you wouldn't say, "Wow, you're such a failure." So why do we say things like that to ourselves? I'll never forget the day my mother casually said to me, "You have such nice legs." And guess what? They're now my favorite body part. I didn't even see them that way till she pointed it out to me. It made me realize how much words matter. One simple habit that has helped me so much is starting my day with a truth statement. Before I even check my phone or get caught up in the day, I take a moment to remind myself of something true. Some days, it's as simple as saying, "I am capable of handling whatever comes my way today." Other days, it's a Bible verse or an affirmation like God has already equipped me for what's ahead. Speaking truth first thing in the morning sets the tone for how I carry myself throughout the day. The way we speak to ourselves shapes the way we see ourselves. Please be kind to yourself. Now, confidence isn't about becoming someone else. It's about owning who you are and stepping into who you already are. You have gifts, talents, strengths, but so often you overlook them because they come naturally to you. You assume that because something is easy for you, it must not be that special. Like, what's the big deal about this photo I just took, this picture I painted, or that beaded necklace I just strung together? But here's the truth. The things that come effortlessly to you might be the very things that make you uniquely gifted. Remember how in the last episode we talked about purpose, about how God has given us gifts, talents, and passions for a reason? What if you fully embrace those things? What if instead of wishing you were more like someone else, you started celebrating the way you are uniquely made? I used to download my creative side, fashion, styling, photography, design. I thought those things were just hobbies, not anything deeply important. But the more I leaned into them, the more I realized they were actually part of my purpose. That's why I always say, confidence isn't about waiting till you feel ready. It's about stepping forward as the person you already are. So here's a challenge. Take a moment today to think about the things that come naturally to you, the things people compliment you on, the things that light you up. A wise friend once told me, write a journal, or two, or three, or 10, called Things I Know. When you're done filling them up, read through them and marvel at all the things that you know. You'll be surprised at how many things you will find that you know. Read it when you need to remind yourself. Added bonus, it stirs up so much gratitude in your heart for all the opportunities you've had. Then I want you to ask yourself, what if this is part of my purpose? What if this is something I'm actually meant to lean into more? Because that's where true confidence lives, not in comparison, not in perfection, but in stepping fully into who you were designed to be. All right, so we've made it this far. I love that. Now, come a little deeper with me. We've talked about confidence from the inside out. We've covered practical steps, mindset shifts, even how fashion and self expression can play a role. But if we're being honest, nothing shapes our confidence more than how we see ourselves at the core. And for me, that changed when I stopped tying my confidence to external things and started rooting it in who God says I am. The Bible says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. In Psalm 139, verse 14. You are more precious than rubies. It says so in Proverbs 31:10. You are chosen, set apart, and deeply loved. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. You are strong and capable. From the book of Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. You are God's masterpiece, created for a purpose. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. Now, maybe you're someone who finds confidence in your faith and in knowing that God created you with purpose. Or maybe you're still figuring that part out. Either way, hear me on this, darling girl. You were made with worth. One thing that helps, write down these truths where you'll see them every day. For me, it's a lipstick scribble on my mirror or an affirmation wallpaper on my phone. Could be a sticky note on my desk. Because confidence isn't just about hearing the truth, it's about repeating it till you believe it. And here's why this is so important. If your confidence is only built on things that can change, your success, your appearance, what people think of you, then it will always be fragile. You'll always be chasing the next thing to feel secure. But when your confidence is built on something unshakable, that's when everything changes. We've talked about confidence from many angles, breaking free from false confidence, practical steps to grow in confidence, even how style and self expression can play a role in how we show up. But at the core of it all, true confidence is unshakable when it's built on God's truth and not on the world's standards. Because here's the reality, anything that can be taken away is a shaky foundation for confidence. Looks fade, careers change, people's opinions shift. Even our own emotions are unreliable. But God, He never changes. His truth about who you are is the same yesterday, today, and forever. In Philippians 4:13, it reminds us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not through our own willpower, not through hustling for approval, through Christ. And 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That means fear, insecurity, self-doubt, they're not from Him. But power, love, and a sound mind, that's what He's placed inside you. So, confidence isn't about having it all figured out. It's not about being fearless or perfect. True confidence is about knowing who you are and whose you are and stepping forward. Even when you're scared, even when you don't feel ready. It's about trusting that you are already equipped for what's ahead. You are capable, you are valuable, you are called. And the best part is you don't have to build this confidence alone. Okay, so next week we'll talk about something that's very close to my heart: creativity. Creativity is a tool for joy, for self expression, and even healing. Whether it's through fashion, design, writing, drawing, painting, dancing, singing, tapping into your creative side can help you reconnect with who you are and brings more beauty into your life. I can't wait for this one. If this episode has encouraged you, I would love if you subscribe to Pretty Deep and share it with a friend who might need a confidence boost today. And if you have a moment, I'd love for you to leave a review. It helps more women find this podcast. I would be so grateful. Until next time, keep showing up, keep stepping forward, and remember, you are already enough. Lots and lots of love. I'll see you next time.